You know when you find this really cool subject and you formulate the perfect photograph in your mind, then gear up, head out early to make the shot happen, and everything goes according to plan, leaving you with a beautiful photograph that looks exactly as you envisioned? Yeah, me neither. Hey, I'm Jeremy. I live in Japan and I take photos. But as you'll see later on in this video, they're not always good ones. Let's go make some mistakes. Our thrilling tale begins, as many do, with a flashback. It was October, and my folks were in town. It was their first time visiting me here in Japan since 2018, and my wife and I were spending every moment possible with them. During their stay, I shot images on two cameras, Cinestill 800T on my Canon AE-1, and digital with my A7 III and Sigma 24-70. We explored Tokyo and made some day trips to nearby prefectures, with our first destination being the town of Sawara in Chiba. It was pretty empty due to the weather and it being a weekday, and I didn't really take any pictures there, but it was good for a leisurely stroll. The second destination, chosen by my mom, was the town of Mashiko in Tochigi. It's famous for pottery, but I was most fascinated by the shop doing traditional indigo dye. There was also a pretty sick temple nearby, where we found a praying mantis, which I'm always happy to see. It was a lot of fun, I took a lot of pictures, and we spent a lot of quality time together. Plus, they spoiled us silly. One of the highlights of their stay was Ibaraki Prefecture's Ushiku Daibutsu, one of the tallest statues in the world, which I had been wanting to see for some years. Outside, my wife attempted to deafen us for her own sick amusement or something. And inside, we took in the fantastic cloudy countryside sights from Buddha's chest, and observed many, many holy relics. Then, back outside, we met the greediest ducks in the world. They kind of had this crazed look in their eyes, so we just gave them what we had and backed away. I also got this awesome book documenting the construction of the Daibutsu in black and white, which may have partly contributed to my decision to make my own photos from this trip black and white. So, towards the end of my folks' stay, there we were strolling through Tokyo's Shibuya Park together. Being October, Tokyo is in that awkward phase where it's reluctant to let go of summer and allow autumn to properly begin. And it was there, in the midst of the park's luscious greenery, that I came upon this. A remnant of the Showa era. A memory of happier, simpler times. A dilapidated kiosk that once sold candy to kids, left to vibrantly and beautifully rot. Being 2 p.m. on a cloudy day, the lighting was not optimal, so I said to myself that someday soon I would return at golden hour on a clear day with some 35mm film when warm golden sunlight would catch the kiosk's edges, outlining it in gold. Fast forward to late November, and there I was, up bright and early, leaving my apartment at 6 a.m., tired and cold, but very much awake with anticipation. I arrived in central Tokyo just after 7 a.m. Shibuya Park was refreshingly empty and quiet, but I knew that it wouldn't be long until the sounds of the morning rush flooding into the city would wind their way through the trees. Minutes later, I found myself at the colorful kiosk, still shrouded in shade, waiting for the first rays of sunlight. There was plenty of time to spare. Exactly how much, I didn't know. If you saw my previous video where I shot Cinestill in Asakusa on my Canon AE-1, you may notice that the camera here is quite different. So I'd been wanting to try something new, to mix things up a little bit. and my buddy Robert was happy to accommodate me, generously donating one of his Nikon F70s and lending me a few lenses. This was my first time owning a Nikon and my first time using a fully automatic film SLR. Now, I'd heard that the F70 has some mixed reviews, with some people hating on its apparently obtuse and unintuitive interface. The thing is, my main photo camera for the past 5 years has been a domestic Sony A7 III, which basically means I'm already used to using the most convoluted and obtuse menu system in the world, and in Japanese. So, compared to that, the F70 is blessedly simple. I loaded it with a roll of Kodak Portra 400, rated for 200, and set it to aperture priority mode. So, when is the photography happening? Trust me, I felt the exact same way at the time. And now, we wait. The minutes ticked by, and the sun inched ever higher, but still, I waited. In an hour and 20 minutes. At any moment, its brilliant rays were going to climb just above the nearby buildings and trees. They would then either illuminate the edges and corners of the structure, or they would highlight one side of it, leaving the other facets draped in darkness, creating a striking contrast, not unlike a painting. Or so I thought. The building a dozen meters away was hogging all the light. It just stood there, sunbathing and mocking me. I took a couple of test shots, trying to find whatever light I could. It was interesting to see that the freezer had power, given that this dilapidated thing was sporting rusted chains like it came straight from Silent Hill. Little did I know that this would be foreshadowing. And after an hour of sitting there, freezing my nuts off... So the sun rises over here, and then I would guess its path would go over here. I realized that the sun would have to get pretty damned high to clear the surrounding buildings and reach this part of the park. So I do have a couple of sun tracking apps, the free versions anyways, and I have also used a website called ShadeMap, but, you know, they're all more of a rough guide rather than like an exact science, at least as far as I can tell. Like, I'm pretty sure this kiosk and of course the trees don't show up on ShadeMap or even Google Maps. Eventually, the 2-hour mark passed, and I was definitely feeling less motivated and more famished. Okay, so I had gotten up early, taken the train all this way, and it's not like there was no light. There just wasn't a lot of it. So I tried to make do. Maybe things would turn out better than I anticipated. The results? So did I use a diffusion filter, a warming filter, expired film, maybe some combination of all of the above? No, none of those. Here's a look at the scan of the negative, converted to positive with Negative Lab Pro and Lightroom without any major changes aside from a small white balance tweak. Yeah, I hate these colors. I despise how this looks. I don't understand what happened, but I've never seen Portra 400 look so fucking ugly. Like, I have this image of it in my mind, you know, the way that it's supposed to look. Bright, vivid colors coupled with soft pastel tones. And this is based on my own experience shooting it. So I could say, like, oh, well, that's the magic of film, the fun unpredictability of analog. That's part of the fun. And yeah, sometimes it is. But the fact is, I don't like these. I was actually wondering whether there was any point in even showing any of this, but I don't usually record myself shooting or have someone with me to do it, even if they're willing. And I thought, you know, maybe there's some value in showing the mistakes instead of only showing the desirable end results that I only sometimes get. So I hope some of you will be able to learn how to do this with me, and that some others may have some good advice and tips to impart. I think this is where I'm supposed to say, leave it in the comments below. So yeah, once scanned and converted, the lighting and colors were awful. Shadows too blue, highlights too yellow. We can talk about color theory and complementary hues and all that, but no. I would have liked a more neutral white balance running through the entire image without the need for significant adjustments in post. So, I spent way too long in Negative Lab Pro trying to see what I could salvage. More time than these photos deserved, that's for sure. And I eventually found something that didn't suck quite as bad. Muted, dusty pastel tones instead of vivid primary colors, basically going like 50% sepia. I think I need to distinguish between intent and expectation. Lots of other photography videos have mentioned shooting with intent, but I don't think that's the same as having like precise expectations as to exactly how a photo is supposed to turn out. When it comes to 35mm film though, I mean, I don't think I'm a total lost cause. Here are some other shots that I took on Portra 400 just a few months prior to this. Shots that, at least in terms of color, work a lot better. But yeah, win some and lose some. On my way to breakfast and after, I shot a few photos here and there, but nothing portfolio worthy. So the thing about taking video of yourself, taking photos, and carrying around a heavy bag and juggling at least 2 cameras is that it's way too easy to miss some of those really good moments. This guy was in a hurry, obviously. I just wish that I had a photo of it instead of this shaky video footage, cause I took this photo right after. For some reason, I honestly couldn't tell you why. Nice lighting, colors, and leading lines, but no point of interest. Look, here's a 7-Eleven with nothing else going on. Way to go, me. Okay, I thought this was a decent composition. So I waited probably 10 minutes for a pop of red to appear, maybe in the form of a bicycle or a cyclist's clothing, but it never happened. So much of photography outside of a studio setting is just timing. Success is a combination of skill and chance. After that, I called it a day. My disappointment was palpable. I was feeling a bit dispirited and forlorn. Unskilled and uncreative. I needed a pick-me-up. I needed to go shopping. In November, a clothing brand, Kodak Apparel, had a pop-up shop at Parco in Shibuya. There, I dabbled in sorcery and made some sacrifices to the film gods to get these sick-ass light leaks. That's right. These wild colors are not the result of me confusingly opening the back of the camera and checking that the film had indeed caught and wound correctly, but rather the results of my own careful intent and planning. Did you really take a photo if you didn't stupidly scrunch up your face while doing so? Rhetorical question. As far as I know, Kodak Apparel is not owned by Eastman or Alaris, but evidently they've been given the okay to center their entire clothing line around Kodak's trademark. And they're not the only ones. I love how Kodak has been whoring out their trademark and doing all of these korabo. Seriously, I'm here for it. I dig it. I just can't currently think of a more pleasant way to say it. I mean, I got this shirt from Uniqlo too. Oh, and these shots were taken on Kodak Ultramax 400, by the way. I actually wanted a lot of things from this store. Am I like a Kodak fanboy or something? I don't think so, but the logo, branding, and kind of poppy vintage vibes definitely appeal to me. But I need to be spending money on film and not clothing featuring film logos. And I need to spend money on rent, I guess. So I left with just this. Pretty snazzy if you ask me. When is the last time I heard or used the word snazzy? I think it needs to make a comeback. Anyways, now that I had acquired more essential gear in the pursuit of my noble photographic mission, it was time to head back out there and take some better photos. The following weekend, after grabbing lunch in Ginza with my wife, I returned to Hibiya Park, ready to polish off my roll of Portra 400 and pop in some Gold 200. The park was, as expected, busy as hell. What I didn't expect, however, was that the kiosk would be fully stocked and open to the public, with one guy manning the cash register and another little dude keeping watch over the drinks. So yeah, this isn't a completely abandoned, derelict ruin. Sorry, mister. Composition? Who needs it? As cool as the blue shutter on the side is, I probably should have gotten closer and maybe just a bit lower. So that was the end of the Portra, so I moved on to the Gold. And did that help? And did shooting at noon instead of dawn work better? No. Also forgot to mention that my prediction of the sun's path was more than a little off. Anyways, after my wife grabbed a drink from the kiosk, we spent some time strolling through the park before heading home. That is more or less the end of it, though I actually returned in late December to try to get some more shots and footage for this video with the help of Hai, but it was a total bust. Smells like human waste and shattered dreams. Due to the narrow streets and relatively tall buildings in the Shimbashi neighborhood, there wasn't a ton of light at 9 or 10 a.m. And on top of that, it was quite cloudy, with the weather forecast constantly updating to say the cloudiness would persist to later and later times. In addition to that, I just wasn't really feeling it or finding anything that resonated with me. I snapped some pictures here and there, but they're arguably even more of a waste of film than the previous ones. We kind of walked around, and then finally, around noon, the sun started to shine. But still, I couldn't really find anything that struck me as being worth a shot. I just don't think I was in the right headspace. They're just tourist snaps as opposed to portfolio pieces. Weirdly enough, this photo of hard light in a mundane, nondescript apartment building that I took on the way home from Shimbashi actually turned out to be my favorite of the day. Go figure. Well, it's time to go over all the shots I took and find the ones that I like. Just kidding. I don't like any of them. Not the Portra or Gold shots anyways. I'm still happy with the Cinestill and digital shots from my parents' visit. So, what did I learn from all this? I want to say a lot, but really all that comes to mind is don't expect too much and I guess get ready to change things up on the go, adapt, and accept that sometimes things just don't work and maybe it would be better to save that roll of film for the next time. Anyways, please don't give up on me just yet. The next video will yield better results, I promise. Well, thanks so much for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.
What?
Leaf.
Oh.